Oh, nobody's playing now. Nah.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm traveling at the moment, but I want to remind you that I always say things exactly the way they are. I don't beat around the bush, and every dog is a day. So today is Mike Miller Dog Day. Yesterday, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange brought an urgent application against this crazy criminal lunatic running a small listed Johannesburg company called Mantango. And in it, they want to stop him from talking the rubbish and nonsense he says about the syndicate working together with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, including myself, around market manipulation, etc. Patience pays off. Look at this idiot. Check it out. Miller on the wall. Who's the biggest liar of them all? Let's recap and see what this is all about.
Miller on the wall. Who's the biggest liar of them all? It's Mike Miller. Firstly, I do not have one share in this mad company, and I'm going to tell you why it's a mad company led by a bunch of mad guys. And the real reason they're doing badly is simply because of his management and his bad decisions in the beginning. And let's start right from the top. So he starts running this business, Langpan, which is a Chrome/PGMs business. Big lie about the PGMs. And he does a fair and reasonable prior to listing it into Mantango for 27.5 million. Only worth 27.5 million. And the company that done it is called Letsima. In event, he does go along and does what's called a competent person's report. He does that, they come back to him, a company called Barra, and they say to him, listen, it could be worth 850 million if 500 million of that, or 550 million of that, was for PGMs that you would mine. But guess what? He knows he's not going to mine the PGMs. He does nothing to show that he wants to mine it. Does no research as to whether it can be mined, but includes it in the valuation to pump the valuation up. And guess what? Bang. He reverses the asset with 10 other accomplices. They then go and lie, and I won't say lie, because the reality is they knew it's worth 27.5 million. It should have traded at 350 odd, because that would have made sense. They closed the day off in day one trade at 1 Rand 26. No support. People know they're lying. Institutions know they're lying. Banks have worked that out. Large corporates have worked that out. A week later, 11th of April, trades down further. Miraculously, 90 cents. Miller is always trying to create the impression that people are playing with his share price. The guy says his turnover is 317 million, thereabout. But his profit's 350. Oh, man, listen, I'm an Indian guy. 1 and 1 is 2. But you can't do a turnover of 317 million and make 350 million profit. Come on, guys, any reasonable person. Let's quickly talk about that interest. His interest bills around 60 million a year, or thereabout. He makes 4 million rand. How do you service 60 bars with 4 million rand? It's impossible. Liquidity issues, short-term liquidity issues. His current assets are not big enough to cover his current liabilities. Let's talk about the salaries. This guy, together with Mr. Naidu, his co-CEO, earned 10 bar a year, just under 10 million rand a year. The company makes 4 million rand trading profit before interest and tax. How can that be possible? Market capital is 200 bar, and the guy earns 10 million just with his joint CEO. In addition to that, to add insult to injury, he spends almost 4 million on legal fees. That's the whole profit. He starts suing the JSE, creating the impression to the JSE that they're working in a syndicate, files papers against the JSE, and says that they're acting inappropriately. He complains to the JSE that there's this amazing syndicate that's trying to manipulate his 2-penny stock. This is bloody funny. So they get a report on the 23rd of May, a breach report. And I'll read you quickly a quick section. It says, after thorough investigation, the FSCA concluded that the transactions are in order because he complains that people are playing with the shares. They say, no, nothing wrong here. No cause for concern from the FSCA. He then goes immediately, or soon thereafter, he goes to the High Court of South Africa to try and put a sense announcement down. The judge says, it is my view, this is one of the extraordinary situations where the lack of urgency and the nature of constitutes an abuse of the court process. The judge further on goes to say that they didn't make full disclosure to the court. They weren't honest to the court. It's a scathing judgment. The judge furthermore says, not only did they not make a complete disclosure, they kept back the FSCA report that I spoke about because they're hiding the lies. They want to create a narrative in front which is incorrect. If you think that's funny, you're going to laugh when you hear this next bit of nonsense. Mike, famous Mike, he comes with a new story, second business he buys. He says, it's a silicon carbide business called Sublime that used to be owned by some Texans. And I'm going to tell you why these Texans are so amazing. You're going to laugh. He buys this business and he says he's going to make 250 bar a year. Okay? And he says that this is a great business. But guess what? You know how much he pays for it? Zero. And if forecast shows and budgeted by Mike that to make 250 million a year. Another tall story. Another Mike Miller story. But having said that, the interesting part about all of this is the fact that no one pays donation tax. I mean, come on guys, someone comes, he phones you up, he says, please take my business. By the way, there's $1 million in cash in the business at the time when they took it. You got $1 million in the bank account, take this business, makes 250 million rand going forward, and you don't have to pay me any money. Does this not sound bloody odd? So let me tell you how this works out. When he says I made 350 million rand, you know what he's talking about? He does a transaction at zero value for the books, and then does a paper entry. He all of a sudden, on the same day, values the same business that I'm talking about, Sublime, 350 million. So that's why he says he makes 350 million. Book entry, I got something for free, I got a donation, he doesn't pay donation tax. There's nothing to suggest that people make money. In fact, in the first month or two of its ownership in Mantango, they made a 4 million rand, a 2 million rand profit. And this message goes out to shareholders, potential shareholders, bankers, and financiers. You cannot be reckless lending to these characters with Mike Miller. You cannot be lending money based on possible incomes in the future, which are never going to materialize. So in conclusion, Miller on the wall, now you know why he's a liar of them all. Fact of the matter is, if you want any of my calculations, it's on my website. Go check it out.
Whee! Yeah,